Hello everyone, and welcome back to our video series on using social media in the classroom with Schoology. Again, Schoology is a safe learning management system where students can really explore how to really craft their digital literacy skills, to post content and to interact with content from teachers and other students online in a safe environment where it's just closed to that particular class. So in this particular video, we're going to focus on creating assignments, creating quizzes and polls, look at some ways to update your students and communicate, and also using the calendar. I'll even kind of give you a brief sort of preview of some of the advanced features that we might sort of showcase in a later video series with calendar usage. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to go into just one of our Canisius EdTech courses. Where again, we use Schoology as our main learning management system at a graduate level, but I also use Schoology with my high school students, and I know teachers who use Schoology with elementary school students. So there really is just a great variety of things that we can do with Schoology in terms of getting content out there and sort of showcasing it with our students. All right, so let's talk about creating an assignment. Now, again, we can create an assignment anywhere on our Schoology page, or we can go into a folder and create an assignment as well. All right, so remember, if we add a folder, it's just a way to organize it, which is kind of nice. So right from here, we're going to go add an assignment. Now, again, we've seen this interface a lot. It's the same interface that we've seen in other places. So we are going to give the assignment a name. We can again give a description right here, and we can again got the same editor that we've been seeing in other areas of Schoology. We can add files, we can add links right here. This might be a link to a Google Doc, things like that nature. This might be a resource, okay, that we might use from our resources. We haven't really talked a lot about external tools, but you can add certain tools to Schoology that you might have. There's no external tools in this one, right, obviously, but you can certainly do that, okay? And you can now set a due date for the assignment. You can give it a point value. You can create categories, okay? So you can create grading categories you can create rates from the assignment if you want to maybe create a quiz category, a homework category, things of that nature. If you're using the paid version of Schoology and you use like a gradebook like eSchool Data or PowerSchool, there are ways to actually link what you do in Schoology with those gradebooks. So when you grade it, you can then sync this gradebook with your actual gradebook you use for reporting to your school, which is awesome. I do it all the time. It saves me a lot of headaches. And there's grading options here where you can set this as a midterm or final. You could weight it. Want to give this more of a weight. You might have different grading periods. All right. And here you have a numeric scale you can do. You can do a plus, A minus kind of scale, or you can actually create a rubric. You can create a rubric right in here, create a brand new rubric. Now, this is more of the advanced features. I really don't want to get into all of that today in this particular video discussion, but Schoology has a really nice rubric creator where then you can just click, 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 and it will add up all the points for you automatically, and that's an easy way to grade students. I actually do it all the time. I actually use the Schoology app on my cell phone, and I can grade right from my phone. So even things that aren't perhaps online, for example, I do a lot of graded discussions in my class. So I'm listening to their comments, we're having great discussions of particular material, and I will actually later on just use my phone to kind of grade those discussions really, really quickly, and then with a rubric that I've already created, and then just sync that to my gradebook on PowerSchool, which is really super, super helpful. But here's a tip. I don't want to get this too far. Basically, I would create your rubrics not in this area. If you really want to get into rubrics, which we can showcase later, let's go back. Let's just go back to Schoology. Let me get a duplicate tab here so I don't lose where I was. Okay. I would actually create rubrics in your resources. Go to Personal, and then go Add to Resource, and then you can add a rubric. Here's the reason why. I've made all these rubrics right here. And then I can do is just add them to a course. Okay. And then when I add them to a course, they'll appear in this drop-down. If I create a rubric here within this assignment, it will only be attached to this assignment, and I won't be able to really share it anywhere else, meaning, next year or different courses or different assignments. I've noticed that's a problem. So be aware of that. And I would create your rubrics within the resources area on Schoology. Okay, but that's more for an advanced discussion of creating rubrics, but I just thought I'd give you a little bit of tip there in case you start to play around. Okay, oh, we lost our page there. So there you go. So basically that's how you create an assignment. And then down here you can individually assign it to people in your course. You can assign it to groups. You can lock it. You can make submissions enabled or actually turn that off so students can no longer submit. You can publish it to the students. You can actually enable comments. So students kind of have a question about an assignment. They can comment on it, which is always kind of nice. And then you can copy to your courses. All right. So basically now when you have an assignment, now you can actually grade something. Okay. Certainly you can grade a discussion. You can attach a rubric to a discussion. But here this is actually a place to pretty much upload or share something. So maybe they'll upload a document, or maybe they'll type rate on a certain area of this. So that's really what an assignment is geared towards, okay? So that's how that works. Now, when we look at it from more of a student standpoint in a course, okay? Now, what I have, obviously I have a lot of assignments that my students are doing, and we were just working on some final projects. And I made a lot of assignments as drops. I have this whole folder here for their final project, which is to create a documentary, historical video documentary, which they also have to write a script, a well-researched, documented script using Chicago footnotes, with at least 10 to 15 sources, very, very, very in-depth. But I had these as kind of source checks, okay? Now, I'll give you an example of what I mean by how options of creating assignments. This was a source check that I made, which I wanted to kind of go for their goals for the day of how many sources they had for their final project. So in that description area, I already laid it out that they got to have at least 5 sources, they have to have at least 10 images, and I had a rubric already set up here, okay? And then I had a little help sheet as a link, okay? Students could write some comments down. They had a question. Now, students didn't actually upload anything here. I actually graded their work and their Google Drive folders. I went into their folders. I went into their top stuff. But I can actually go into the edit grades here, which I don't want to give away my students' names. But then I could actually click on this rubric and then score them right through here. So even though I didn't collect work, I made an assignment that I can score the work, even though the work might be in different places. So the work might be in class, a homework check. The work might be in a different spot, like a different technology tool, but you can still create assignment drops here to actually grade the work. And that for me is important because I can then sync my grade book to my actual school's grade book and have that. There's a lot of analytics. You can see what the stats were, information about the grade, and so forth. All right. Now, students really didn't submit anything here yet, but they could if they wanted to. That wasn't part of the assignment. Now, another example would be where students actually did drop stuff. Now, so this was a final project video. This was their final project videos, and there's the assignment for the video, and there was the all the rubrics associated with it, and the comments were on. They could actually post their video links here, all right, or I could go in and I can actually get their submissions, and they can kind of submit their work over here, and they can actually upload their files and so forth. So right now I'm showing that same file drop area from a student standpoint. Now this student was just awesome. I didn't give you the student's name, but you can actually view your course through your student's eyes, which I will actually let you see that in a moment. This student actually did a wonderful job. She created a 25-minute documentary that had interviews from relatives and family members, and it was absolutely beautiful. And I gave her 100 on it. And she actually can go back now to the assignment, click on the rubric, and see where I scored her in the areas in the rubric where she actually got points for. All right. If she didn't submit anything yet, there would just be an upload button here where she can upload things like video links, files, and so forth. So it's a really nice way to collect student work, and then you can go through each student, next student, next student, next student, and you can kind of grade their work like that very easily, very efficiently. Okay, so that's an important aspect to consider. Now, some other things we should talk about, though, is kind of like get back into a different viewpoint for a course. I'm back to my college students' courses, so we can go back to that view for a moment here. What about creating like quizzes and polls? So you can do a lot of really neat things here on Schoology in terms of creating quizzes and polls. So here, you can add a test or a quiz. And you can give it a name. Let's just call it test. Okay, we'll give it a test. We'll give it a due date of today. We can give it a category, right? And what we can do is we can select our categories. I'm going to make it unpublished in case any of my students are still accessing this course. I can assign it individually. I can enable comments, and I can create. So now what I can do here is I can add a question. And there's some great options here. I hope everybody can see that. We can do true-false questions. We can do multiple choice questions, an ordering sort of question of what comes first, nice little short answer or essay, fill in the blank, matching. You can actually import a test or quiz also from a question bank. Now, it's a little more of an advanced feature, but what Schoology has the ability to do is that it can import from question banks from Blackboard. Now, Blackboard's a very popular, more of a collegiate level, but sort of for high school too, learning management system. And a lot of textbook companies actually create text question banks, and they usually put it in a Blackboard format. So Schoology can actually import those. It's more of a, how should I say, it's more of a advanced feature. Okay, we can import a test or quiz. We can put page breaks. We can put directions in there and so forth throughout the test. So just for an example, usually the multiple choice is the most popular, some for a lot of us. Again, you see that same equation editor, right? Again and again and again. All right. Same idea. You can kind of type up your questions and do all of this that you need to do. All right. You can then put your choices in, certainly. Okay. And you can add more choices. You can remove them. You can make the correct answer. You can have feedback for each question, which is nice if you really wanted to. You can randomize your choices, allow partial credit if there could be a time question. And you can give it points. Okay. And then you can create a question. All right. Settings, certainly it's kind of neat the way you deliver this because this will be an online sort of test. But again, you can deliver these online, or you can, if you have a class set of Chromebooks, or you have a sort of class set of devices or laptops, whatever the case may be, you can certainly administer these in class. All right. And you can disable the submissions. You can put a time limit on the submissions. Yes. Time limit, perhaps. How much minutes will this be? How many attempts can the students take it? Unlimited. Maybe it's like a review, or only a certain amount of times. You can randomize the question order. All right. Question review. This allows the students to actually go back and change it, or must they, once they submit an answer, that's it. They can't go back and change it. Resumable. This is important. Maybe a student accidentally closed their browser, or something happened, the battery went. Can they go back to it? All right. That's important. And can they view their submissions? Meaning, yes, they can view what they got, the score, or with the correct answers. Okay, so that's kind of interesting the way you do it. This is a preview of what the quiz will actually look like to students. It will give you all the results of what the students did. Okay, we don't have any students in this course right now, I don't think, to see results, and any comments that the students posted. All right, so you kind of have a nice way of getting this all sort of organized. Now, I'll show you, we're having a lot of Regents review questions now for my students, and I have created a whole bunch of Regents review questions as quizzes. Now, this is another tool. It's a tool called Problematic. It's not problem with the term attic. So let me actually just type that in. Problematic. There it is. And it's a huge database of questions. And we have this at our school. I don't know if you have this at your school. Another popular one is Castle Learning. And Castle Learning, as of now, does not really work with Schoology. I think there's been some talk of it, and maybe it's already being changed. But Problematic does. You can actually import, thousands of questions from Problematic right into Schoology. So I've done that. Okay, so these are Regents review questions for 11th grade students. And let me just show you the questions. And these are all questions that I imported. These are right off Regents exams. All right, and I can go back and I can edit a question so you can see what it is. And this is, I didn't do any of this. This was all imported, right from Problematic, which is, I think, kind of important. Okay, so that's kind of great, right? And I can go to the settings of this particular quiz. I have it enabled. This is a review, so there's no time limit. They can take it, I said 2 times. Highest score, it's for review. All right, and I'm letting them see the correct answers. So Really kind of a just interesting way you can kind of see it. We can do the preview, and this is kind of neat. We can start a new attempt, and this is what it would look like from the student standpoint. So they see the question, all right, which document clearly reflects the advice given. This is from Thomas Jefferson. So, don't get ourselves entangled in foreign affairs. That's from Washington's farewell address. Okay, and then you can kind of go through the whole entire quiz. Want the whole entire thing. So there you go. So that's how it actually works. So it's kind of a an interesting way they can go through it, and it shows them their results and any comments. All right. So that's how you actually work with quizzes on Schoology. In a more advanced course, we'll really break it down how to do things like you work with question banks and some other aspects. Okay. So let's go back to our home. Actually, let's go back to our course page here. Let me leave this. Let's go back to our course page here. Okay. Sorry about that. And let me go back to our courses that I was working with you guys. And we can talk about some things like updates. Okay, so you have updates. And when you have an update, there is a kind of a little neat feature here of a poll. Unfortunately, it's the only place you can actually put a poll. And I wish they would allow me to put polls in discussions and put polls someplace else. But this is kind of like a Twitter poll, right? So this is kind of like the main feed, the update. This would be like more like your Facebook feed, or more like your Twitter feed, and people can comment on stuff, and they can reply to each other. All right. So what I can do is I can actually ask a poll, which is kind of interesting. I could pose a question right here, and I can kind of add a poll, like, what do you think about this particular issue? And that might be a nice discussion starter. Okay. Obviously, it can be used a lot in different courses and different classes. So that's kind of a neat thing. While we're here, let me kind of get rid of this. We're not going to do the poll. This is a great place to post updates to your class. And again, if you notice, this is the same similar format. You got to put the spell check on. Maybe update on homework assignments, update on issues in the class, or the case may be. All right, and you can kind of set the post to be right now, to be also kind of an announcement. So to kind of like really grab their attention, all right, which is really kind of useful, okay? And I could post something. When I post from here, I only post to the one class, which is interesting. But here I'll show you a little tip that I didn't even know existed until a few weeks ago. If I go to the home page of Schoology, and I could post from here. I can go to update, okay? And I can now post a comment. So I could post something right here, but then I could post and I can kind of type in the name of my courses. So I could type in American Military History 1, American Military History 2, and I could post to all my courses at the exact same time as an update. All right. American Military History, whoops, I didn't do that. American Military History 3, and then American, History 4. Now, this is actually something I need to do. We made a change. The exam dates have changed. The exam will be given Monday and Tuesday. Put my spell check on just in case. All right. And now, again, I can embed things like video, audio recording. I can add a link to this update. I can add a file. And I can do a poll here as well. I'm just laughing. Should I give a poll? I could give a poll. See, this is real time, folks. Was this a good decision? Right? And we'll do yes. And we'll do no. And we'll see if anybody, I didn't let them know I was going to do this, but we'll post it. So there we go. So I posted this update. All right. Now let's go back to the course so you can kind of see it from the individual course standpoint. Okay. And I can go to updates. And now the exam dates have changed. The exam will be given on Monday and Tuesday. Was this a good decision? People can kind of, give me their comments. And I don't have anybody commenting on it yet, obviously. But that'd be kind of interesting to see if what their reaction is to that. All right. Now, last thing I want to show you is the calendars today. And what you can kind of see here is that on every course, okay, you have sort of upcoming assignments and things that are coming up that are due for the next few weeks. And you can go to the calendar page, and these are all things that are due. Now, this calendar is created automatically when you assign dates to either discussions or to assignments. If there's a due date associated with it, it can be graded or ungraded, it doesn't matter. It will generate a calendar posting, which is great, which is super convenient. Okay, so that's a really nice thing. And you can actually, what's nice about this is that if you had to change a date on something, you can actually move the dates here on the calendar, and it will be also reflected on the assignment as well. All right, so that's kind of a nice thing. And you can go through the different months and so forth and view your calendar. Okay, you can also export it in different file formats, okay, or you can import it as well. Now, one thing I want to show you that I use, that I'm a really big advocate of Google. And if you go to the materials section of my course, and what I created was a course calendar. And this course calendar is not associated with Schoology, it's actually associated with a Google Calendar, okay? So let me show you how this actually works. So this calendar wasn't created in Schoology, it was actually created in Google Calendars. Here's my Google Calendar. All color-coded in terms of what's due, what's been due. Obviously, we get into the month of June and so forth. It's just going to a change. And I like creating it here because I think Google Calendar is easier to manipulate. Students can actually go here and add this Google Calendar to their own devices, which is really nice. The problem with the Schoology calendar that students have told me is that when you go back to that calendar page on Schoology, what I just showed you, let me get out of here and go back to the course materials. When you hit the calendar over here, it actually shows them the assignments for all their courses, which I guess obviously is really nice, but it can get really cluttered and confusing. So here, I'm only seeing one course, obviously. But if I was a student, I'd be seeing all the courses that I have. But over here in this course calendar, this is only, my course. It's a little bit extra work because I actually have to make my course calendar postings here. I'm not going to get into the Google aspects of this, but let me just show you how I actually did this. So if you go to Google Calendar, and you go to settings, I'll do this really quickly for you, okay, is that you can actually import and export calendars, and you can share calendars and do some really kind of nice things with your calendars. So I'm going to go to this calendar that I'm on right now, and if I go here, it makes the calendar public, okay? Learn about sharing your calendar, and this gives you the directions of actually how to do all of that, okay? And what you see down here is you got this is the public URL, but see this embed code? I know it's kind of hard to see, maybe just a little bit bigger for you. All right, this is the embed code for the calendar. All I did was copy that embed code. Remember we talked earlier about pages in Schoology and what they're useful for? Well, basically, let me show you how this actually works. This calendar was a page in Schoology. If I edit the page, I named it course calendar, and I used the HTML, or I embedded the code from here, boom, right into here, and I just saved it, okay? And if I say now, when students open that page on Schoology, they see the embedded calendar right there. One thing I wish it would do is I wish it would give it in the color that I see over here. It doesn't actually give the color version, just kind of makes it blue. But at least at the beginning of class, I always post this calendar, so they're familiar with it. So there's just some fun things with calendars with Schoology. Okay, so there we go. So I hope this was a really great experience for you in terms of understanding how to use Schoology. And thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.